Hi, in this particular video we're going to be looking at the June 2019 higher tier Edexcel paper for GCSE Maths. Please do stop the video, have a go at each of the questions and compare your solutions. If you need any help, always add a comment below, I'll always come back to you and I look forward to seeing you inside the video. Hi, this is the final video in the playlist where we're looking at the Edexcel June 2019 series, and it's the higher tier paper. In the previous video we completed through to question number 18, so we're going to start with question number 19. Now this is, there's only a few questions left on this particular paper, so each of these questions is a little bit more challenging, but I would try to encourage you to stop the video, have a go at the question and then compare your solution. So this is a fairly typical kind of completing the square type question where all we do is we rewrite this in the form of that, but I'm going to write it firstly as x minus 3. So the technique is you halve this number and then square it. Now if you can imagine, what I've actually done is I've written x minus 3 times x minus 3. So if I expand that out, I'm going to get x squared minus 6x plus 9. Remember, a minus 3 times a minus 3 is a positive 9. So the problem is that while I've achieved x squared minus 6x, exactly the same here, I've got this plus 9. So if I minus 9, it means that this, when I expand it out, will be exactly the same as x squared minus 6x. And then I've got plus 1, so I just add plus 1 at the end. And then really it's just a case of tidying that up, and I'm going to get x minus 3 squared minus 9 plus 1 is going to be minus 8. Okay, so I've got two values. I've got a value of a, which in this particular case is going to be minus, well actually 3, isn't it? Minus 8, so it's going to be 3, and a value of b, which is going to be 8, so it's going to be 3 and 8. Okay, and that would be it for that particular start of the question. Part B is write down the coordinates of the turning point. Well, you'll note that we've put it in this completing the square form, so the turning point is the opposite of this one, so it's going to be positive 3 for x and then minus 8 for y. So it's going to be simply 3 and minus 8, and that would be the answer to that particular question. If you're not sure about completing the square, there is a playlist on the channel. Please do have a look at that, and it gives you quite a few more examples. Okay, let's move on then to proportion type questions. This is question number 20. Question number 20, we've got basically two formulas, or two proportionalities. We've got an inverse proportion and a direct proportion. So let's have a look firstly at the inverse proportion. H is inversely proportional to P, so I'd write that as 1 over P. Okay, now I'm going to convert that into an actual formula. I'm going to say H is equal to K, which could be 1 over P. K is a constant, and again, if you're not sure, there are playlists on the channel. Okay, so let's put these two numbers in and let's see where we end up, and we're going to get a value of K. So if I put H in, it's going to be a value of 10. Okay, so 10 equals K over 6. So when P equals 6, so K must equal 60. So actually now I've got a proper formula I can use, which is H equals 60 over P. All right, so that's using that first inverse proportion with the information that I've got available. Let's look at the second, which is the direct proportion. And what we're saying is P is directly proportional to the root of T. I'm going to convert that into a formula. So P equals K times root of, in this particular case, 144. Okay, so therefore I can, P is actually 6 again, sorry, 6. Okay, so therefore I can say that 6 equals K times 12. Okay, so k must equal 6 divided by 12, which is 1/2. So now I've got a formula that I can put together, which is going to be p equals root t over 2, or if you prefer, a half root t. That's perfectly fine, whichever way you write it. But what we're saying is that we're taking this value of p and we're putting it into here in order to find a formula for h in terms of t. Okay, so we're taking this value of p, which is this one, and we're putting it into there. Okay, so let's have a look and see how that works out. Well, it's going to end up looking fairly awkward, which is 60 over root t over 2. All right, well, essentially what we've got here is a division. This is 60 divided by, so I could write this as 60 divided by root t over 2, which is exactly the same as saying 60 times 2 over root t. Remember that what we can do is we can multiply and flip. Now, if we do that, then it's fairly straightforward. We end up with 60 times 2 divided by root t. So that's going to equal 120 over root t. Now, that actually would answer the question, and that's perfectly fine. I have seen the mark scheme on this particular question paper, and there are a couple of variations on this, because root t is the same as saying 120 over t to the power of 1/2, so that could be written, if you prefer, as equal to 120 t to the power of -1/2. It doesn't really matter, all of those are exactly the same. Personally speaking, I would probably leave it as h equals 120 over root t. That's me personally, but I absolutely get you could use that one or that one. It really wouldn't make any difference, and certainly from the marking scheme, that's absolutely fine. Okay, hopefully that's been okay for you. We're about 6 minutes into the video, so we're going to move on with question number 21, which is the last but one on this particular paper, and that deals with functions. So functions are becoming popular, particularly with non-calculator papers towards the end of the calculator paper, and I do see these a fair bit. Okay, so what we're doing here is finding the inverse function of 3x minus 1. Well, the technique, and again, if you're not sure, let me know. I'll direct you through to the playlist. The technique is to write this as y equals 3x minus 1, and then basically make x the subject of the formula. So if I rewrite this, I'm going to get y plus 1 divided by 3 equals x. Now, if you're not sure how I've gone from there to there, please do let me know. Okay, so now I've got x as being the subject of the formula. I'm actually going to now swap this back again, and I'm going to write it as x plus 1 over 3 equals the inverse function of x. And actually, that's the answer to the first question. So x plus 1 over 3. Okay, then it says, given that fg of x equals 2gf of x, show that this is this. Okay, so let's have a look firstly at separating this up into two separate areas. I'm not really going to worry too much about this for the moment. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to work out the fg of x. And what that means is that we take the value of g of x, which is this one here, and we put it straight into there. So where we see x, it becomes x squared plus 4. So we write this as 3 times x squared plus 4 minus 1. Okay, and that's going to be taking this, putting it in here. 3 times x squared plus 4 minus 1 is the fg of x. Okay, the second part of this is going to be 2 times the gf of x. Okay, well, firstly, I'm going to write out the gf of x, but I'm going to do that inside some brackets. Okay, I'm just going to leave that 2 times outside. So again, it's taking the f of x, which is 3x minus 1, and putting it into the g of x. So this time it's the other way around. I'm taking this value and putting it there. And what that would look like is going to be 3x minus 1 squared, which is the value of x squared, plus 4. Okay, I'm going to close my brackets off. So let's expand that and see where we get to. Okay, little bit tricky, but you know, we should be okay with this. We got 2 brackets, and then I've got 3x minus 1 multiplied by 3x minus 1 plus 4. Okay, which is going to be equal to 2, and that's going to be, that times that is going to be 9x squared minus 6x plus 5, because I've got plus 1, so minus 1 times minus 1 is 1, and then plus 4 at the end is going to give me plus 5. Okay, so I appreciate I'm going fairly quickly through this particular, because this is, you know, really quite a high level. You'd be looking at really a grade 7, grade 8 on these sorts of questions. Okay, so let's look now at the other side. I'm going to leave that as it is. It seems perfectly fine to me. Let's just work through this. So I'm going to get, multiplying out by 3, I'm going to get 3x squared plus 12 minus 1. Okay, so that's going to give me 3x squared plus 12 minus 1 is going to be plus 11, and that's going to equal that. Okay, so now really it's just a case of tidying all of this up and making it look like that. Okay, so what we'll do first is I'm going to leave this side as 3x squared plus 11. And on the right-hand side, I'm going to multiply out. I'm going to get 18x squared minus 12x plus 10. Okay, now bearing in mind I need to make this equal to 0. They've written it slightly the wrong way around, because I need to minus 3x squared from both sides. So actually my 0 is going to be on the left-hand side. So if I minus 3x squared from both sides, that becomes 15x squared. I've got minus 12x, and that's fine because it's as it is. And then I've got plus 10 and minus 11. I'm bringing the minus 11 over here, which is going to be minus 1, and that equals the 0. So therefore, 15x squared minus 12x minus 1 equals 0, which is in keeping with what they're asking us to actually achieve. Okay, so hopefully that's been okay for you. Inverse functions, as I mentioned, are quite popular. Please do have a look at the playlist on the channel. Okay, but in the meantime, we've got one final question, which is a bit of a nightmare. It does take a little bit of time to work through. Okay, so the probability of the counter is green is 3/7, and we've got R counters and green counters in a bag. Okay, so let's just have a look at the probability of it being green. Okay, so this is the first one. Probability of it being green. Okay, so I've not really read the rest of the question. I'm just really interested in what we've got at the moment. Okay, well, the probability is going to be 3/7, which is what we're told. Now, that's made up of the green counters out of the total amount of counters, which is red plus green. Okay, so that's the statement I'm going to make for the moment, is that this probability of green is 3/7. And then the actual probability is made up of the green counters out of the total number of counters, which is red plus green. Okay, so let's look now at the second probability, because the counter is put back in the bag, and then we've got 2 more red counters and 3 more green counters, and then the probability of green is 6/19. But if we use the same principle, then what we can say is we've got a probability of green, and that's going to change now. It's going to change to become 6/13. But that's been made out of green plus 3, because we've got 3 more green counters. And then it's going to be red plus 2, which is 2 more red counters, plus green plus 3. Because there's 3 more green counters. Okay, which looks a little bit untidy. So I'm just going to change that to green plus 3 divided by red plus green plus 5. Okay, so now what we've got is effectively two equations. So we've got this one and we've got this one, okay? But we've got two unknowns. We've got red and green. However, what we can do is we can use this first equation and find a value for red in this particular case and then substitute it into here. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So what we're going to do is look firstly at the first equation. So the first equation is going to be the probability of green, and what we said is 3/7 equals green over red plus green. Okay, so the easiest way, I think, again, and I do this, I seem to do this an awful lot, and I've done it previously, not so much in this video, but the previous video, is to cross multiply through. I just seem to have this thing about cross multiplying at the moment. If I do that though, I get 3 multiplied by red plus green equals 7g. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make R the subject of this particular formula. Okay, so if I multiply this out, I get 3R plus 3G equals 7G. Okay, and then I minus 3G from both sides. I'm going to get 3R equals 4G. So now I've got a value of R which is 4 over 3G if I divide through by 3. And I can take this value and I can plug it directly into this particular formula. So formula 2 is going to be 6 over 13 equals G plus 3 divided by, R plus G plus 5, okay? And I'm going to take that value of R and I'm going to make it 4 over 3G, because if I do that, it means I've only got G, or green, on this particular formula, which is going to make it much easier to solve. But before I do that, I'm just going to rewrite this in the way that I've substituted it. So 6 over 13 equals G plus 3 divided by, rather than R, I'm going to write 4 over 3G plus G plus 5. Now, I know it looks a little bit untidy at the moment and a little bit scary canary, but actually, like a lot of these things, it kind of works through not too bad. Okay, so again, I'm going to cross multiply. Okay, all right, it's just the way it is. So I'm going to cross multiply and I'm going to say, well, that's the same as saying 6 times 4 over 3G, okay, plus G plus 5. And that's equal to 13 times G plus 3. All right, now the advantage of doing this is that hopefully you can see when I multiply this fraction by 6, I get 6 times 4, which is going to be 24, but then it's 24 divided by 3, which actually very neatly works out as 8G. Okay, so that times that. So that's why I didn't do it to begin with, because I recognized I'd be able to reduce it. Okay, and then I've got 6 times G is going to be plus 6G, and then 6 times 5 is 30, and that's going to equal 13G plus 39. Okay, so all I've done there is I've expanded out and got rid of the brackets themselves. Okay, so let's have a look then at if we can try to sort this out a little bit. Well, I've got 14G minus 13G. If I bring this over to the other side, so that's going to give me G. And then I've got 39 minus 30 is 9. So actually now I've got my value of green counters, which is going to be 9 green counters. And you remember that I've also got this formula here. So if I know the number of green counters is 9, the number of red counters is 4 over 3 G, which is going to be equal to 4 over 3 times 9. Okay, so that's going to be 4 times 9 is 36. 36 divided by 3 is going to equal 12. So my red counters is going to equal 12. So that's 12 and 9 on that particular question. Okay, that's the end of this particular video and series of videos on the June 2019 Higher Paper 1. I hope it's been useful to you. Unfortunately, there are fewer questions like this where you can duplicate, but I will try to find some. If you're not sure, add a comment below and I'll try to find a couple that might be useful to you. I hope you have found the videos useful. Please add a like and I'll look forward to seeing you inside the next video, where I think we'll take a bit of a divert and look at some foundation papers. Okay, and I look forward to seeing you inside the next video.